Hello, guys, and thank you for joining me. Wow, I got a little loud. I guess I can back off from the mic a little bit, can't I? That's just a little video that I used in my previous videos. I love that music and that sound, so I thought I'd share it one last time. However, today I'm here to give you my final words on the Richat. As you know, I have already started a new channel and I'm moving all my content over there. So please make sure that you're subscribed. Let me pull it up and let's find it. It's around here somewhere. That's Reddit. I don't want to show you Reddit. I want to show you that. This is the channel. Here we are. One thing I should mention is you can see that it is youtube.com was this Atlantis. So just plug it in and subscribe. Now, I do want to tell you that this final word might be just two parts, hopefully, but it could run into a third part if something happens, or the power went out earlier because of the thunderstorms in here in Taipei. So anything can happen, right? But I do want to get this off my chest, and so here we are at the final words of the Richat on this channel. I'm going to move it over to Was This Atlantis? Any of the prehistory stuff should probably end up over there. I might do special projects, but honestly, if you want the latest at Was This Atlantis, then you're going to have to go over to the channel Was This Atlantis. Okay, I'm going to put this over here, and I'm going to start to first quick review. I'm just going to go through this. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. I talked about cataclysms and the ages and the equinoxes and the precession and the ages again, and the fact that you shouldn't try to divide every single age by 2160 because ages such as Cancer, and this is Aries, they're only 10 or 15 degrees, which only takes 720. Here I wrote that. I didn't write it. I calculated it. Or 1080. And other constellations take, I'll show you in a minute, up to 3,000 years. This is our current constellation. I talked about it already. Go to the previous video. I'm not going back. I said this is from Randall Carlson. I didn't really talk about it much, but if you look, we can see the younger Dryas. Here he writes 12,900 before present. So that equals -2, 10,900 years BC. Now, to me, Randall Carlson's the final word. So when I asked before, where did this line come from in the dirt? Now I'm looking at 12,900 years ago. Now I've heard Graham Hancock mention like 11,600, I thought, or 12,006. They've got it down to a certain number of years, but we still are up in the air about when this line occurred in the dirt, the younger Dryas boundary. I talked about all this, so I'm not going to go over it again. Talked about how things get changed over time by the people. Hi, how are you? Let me check and see if I can hear myself.
I talked about all...
Wow, I'm loud. Okay. If I'm too loud, let me know. I gotta go watch this video again, but I'm not going to do it now. And how the Sphinx was not only decayed, but destroyed and rebuilt, and then probably decayed more, and then destroyed, and then rebuilt. That nose coming off is probably the second destroyed. Sorry, I'm drinking ice water with a little bit of whiskey in there. And so as you can see, the limestone that's underneath the current Sphinx head was visible all the way up. That's the limestone there. It's all covered now. You do see that jagged edge a little bit on the modern day right there. You can see it right there. So it's just interesting how they save that concrete right there. That looks pretty flat right there on the back. Is that flat? Interesting. Okay, I'm not going to try to get too far away. And by the way, there's so many things to talk about. As I have already mentioned, there's a new channel. So things won't be on this channel anymore. I'm done with this channel as far as trying to make anything work. I did the part 1 on this channel to make sure people who are looking for my information know that I have a new channel. So I'm trying to kind of move people around, and I'm trying my best. Now, according to this, the Sphinx is a lot older. I already talked about this, and everybody knows this, really. These mounds, Geocosmic Rex, published so many years ago, 21, so January 21 was a couple months back, so it's almost been 2.5 years. Here's the ages of each age, and there's an empty area in there. Now, that's all added up. 37 degrees of empty space. Okay, I talked about all this. I'm going to go to start at the survivors. I think this is the most important thing. So I don't want to go over any of this again. I want to get past it. I talked about all this stuff yesterday. So we're going to go through it real quick so you can see what we talked about. If you don't know what you're looking at, you can go to the previous video and check it out. My goal is to finish this in one more part. I do. I want to finish it in one more part. I keep thinking about the other person who told me about the meaning of the Richat in French. We're going to have to go look at Google Translate. I talked about myself a little bit. If you don't know that I met Sonny Bono, now's your chance to know. I like art. I want to go and just paint from now on. Kind of done with everything else in my life. Carpentry, photography, paintings based on photography, writing. By the way, this novel was a non-porn, non-sex tourism look at life in Taiwan during SARS. Yes, it's a little clickbaity-ish. However, as you see, I used a fake name, and it's available on Amazon, even for free if you have Kindle services, or Kindle Kindle Unlimited, Kindle Edition, whatever. I don't know. There's a third book, and by the way, now I'm really ready to publish Spastic Entitlement, but I do have to be honest. I took a big break from writing. Poker, chess, where I am now, and compared to Yonaguni, very close to Yonaguni, I'm like 100 miles away from it. Graham Hancock was there diving, and he invited Shock to come and look at it. We talked about another underwater anomaly and mainstream history in addition to North America and South America. If you haven't seen Graham Hancock, if you haven't looked at or heard I heard it. Graham Hancock's book called Before America. You should check it out. And I do believe that the Nilotic Meridian was probably the meridian, the main meridian, because as you know, the Prairie Reefs map shows it as such, and the current meridian is only 1884. 1984 was the year I almost graduated, so it's like 130 years ago. Okay, we talked about this. I'd like to get an answer to my question about this. Some Plato, some first initial thoughts about what Atlantis so-called is and was, and what the Richat could be, and what antiquities are there now. I think that we've talked enough about the so-called flooding on both sides, but this stuff's been covered. In my opinion, I think I got it clear. This so-called island is lower than the shorelines that are on this. Now, this is like 2,000 feet high over here. It's like a little bit less over here, but the shoreline there on this side is much higher than the highest point in the middle. In fact, the very middle is lower than the outer ridges. I feel like this was not above the water, what we're looking at now. This was always below the water. So the question is, and I understand there's no seashells in here, so I don't know. I'd have to go take a look for myself. I want to. All right. Looks like I've got an excellent connection and just one viewer. And I understand. Is that viewer me? All right. Maybe I should share this. I think I can share it. Let me try to share it on Reddit. Let's see if anything will share. Although that got me a thumbs down when I did it last time. Let me give it a try right now. What am I going to send it to, though? Let me see here. I can't see anything. Oh, here. Let's send it to Atlantis. There we go. Maybe that'll get us something. So I sent it to Atlantis. Okay, let's get back to this. Now, I do want to get through this. Here is the topographical that you can see the land levels. And 2000, I can't click on it because this is not the map. It's just a JPEG. But you can see that the white part, the highest point is 2103. The red down here near the yellow, that's over here. It's like about 1400. 15 to 1400 depending on where you're standing. Orange, yellow. And then the light yellow, that's like 1200 down there. Now the islands can get a little red, but they don't get white. So they almost could be the same height. But I believe that this is the foundation of the center. Now, I'll talk more about that later because I want to go one step at a time. But take a good look at this. That's the key. What is it? We can talk more about that later. I'm just double checking to see who's here. Hi there, Willie. Thank you. Okay, so this is where I stopped last video. Knowledge of the survivors. This is basically the part I'm covering that says, okay, after Atlantis, after 12,900 years ago, the Younger Dryas event, whatever, are actually what I believe happened. And Willie, I don't know if you knew this or not. This is, in my opinion, a crater. I know it's flat. It doesn't look like a crater because I believe that it was covered with water right away. It was filled with water and sediment. We'll look at that later, but this is what I really believe happened to our so-called center. Look at the mountains. Where are the mountains? You've probably heard me say this before. Where are the mountains? If this is dome geology, what happened to this quarter of the mountains? They got destroyed by an asteroid attack. Look, I know what everybody says. I know what Randall Carlson says. Okay? Randall Carlson says it's a Mars system displacement of ring dike by fault. But later I'm going to show you a real close look at that. And I think that you can agree to disagree with me, if maybe, but I definitely don't agree that it's just a fault. No, we have missing mountains. So now that you know my secret, first let's go over some facts about the survivors. I want to get through these slides, and I don't want to stop there right now. Originally when I heard this, I checked it. But something in Google Earth or Google Maps showed the wrong spot. But I checked it again recently, and it was right on target. Now, the thing about this, it's so funny because, let's just take a look. The speed of light is here. This is that meters per second? Okay, meters per second. So those numbers, somehow when you go to the map, and I don't know much about decimal. We have 29 degrees, that's a degree, but then it quickly changes over to a decimal. So basically they get the degree first. And we do have 31 over here, 31.1. So when you look at the Neolithic stuff that I mentioned before regarding this, wow, it's way up there. 31 it's the truth here, and down here these numbers are very close. But I have to say one more time, I don't understand why 31 is important when the meridian was in 1884. I mean, how can it be relevant to our whole conversation? The number 31 is irrelevant in my opinion. It's relevant to modern day locations, but it's not relevant to the number 31 in my opinion. So we're going back down and we're going to get here. Let's take a look at the pictures. Geodetic engineering is what we're talking about, because if you're going to put your building on the speed of light, you're basically representing a lot. Now, if you look at this, it shows right there in the middle. Here's another. Oh, I didn't do it? Okay. And here I can't click on it, but just trust me, it's right there in the middle of the pyramid. I was shocked because the first time I checked it, it wasn't in the middle. And I was like, okay, it was like right there. And I was like, well, that's okay. I mean, maybe there was an earlier structure there, because I kind of don't know when the pyramid was built. And since I don't know, and maybe a structure here, which was where I originally thought the speed of light landed on, but then later on I plugged in some numbers. In fact, I went to Snopes. Go to Snopes and ask the question, is the Great Pyramid of Giza's location related to the speed of light? And they give you this lame answer. And it's funny because I don't know, this one right here. Okay, so if you look at this, you can see the pyramid is in the center of the image, right in the center. I can't measure it. I don't have any measuring tools, but this, from the distance from the middle of the pyramid to the top of this picture to the bottom, is about the same. Now you kind of can see this line here showing the center. It looks a little different from what we're seeing at the top. So it looks a little tweaked, to be honest. But let's just keep going here. Snopes gave us the numbers. I clicked on it. I copied those numbers and I pasted them. And where did it take me? It took me right to the middle of the pyramid. Oh, thank you, Seed Hound. You might have found me when you say seeds. It sounds like you know 2030. He sells seeds. Anyways, let me keep going here, and I'd like to see your comments. Thank you. Yeah, so the speed of light and the big pyramid is the same distance from the equator up, 29.97. So this number and this is the same number. It's true. So geodetic location. So the word geodetic engineering is very important here because we now know that the pyramid was geodetically engineered. And even Snopes, even though they say all this BS, you can read it yourself, they make all these excuses, and they say, oh, well, this is actually more correct. And if you look at it, you're like, well, that looks like it's right in the middle too, because they gave you a different number. And then they said, and because people didn't know the speed of light, it's therefore impossible. That's why they gave it a false, because people didn't know. And our system here at 3, 4, and 5, it's the same argument. Our system of referencing locations on the globe via latitude didn't come into being until long after the construction of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Isn't that the point? Okay, and then there was one more that said that there's no way the Egyptians could have known the speed of light because they worked in cubits. It's another argument that proves that the Egyptians probably didn't build the pyramid. No, I don't trust anybody now, Willie. And by the way, I do encourage your comments. This is the last time I want to get into this on this channel. Please make sure you're subscribed to the new channel. I know that you just found me. Thanks for saying that, Seed Hound. But I keep forgetting I'm doing this video because I want everybody to get over to my new channel. So this is like a call. I'm calling everybody. Come on down. Get over to this new channel. I call it Was This Atlantis? Look, I just got a subscriber. Thank you. And it is down below. I'm going to change that, I think. It's a little too Harry Potter for me. What was I going to say? I was going to say that the link is down below in the description. Okay, now the cubit is kind of based on our bodies, so I don't want to get too much into this. And I don't know how much I trust this picture on the bottom right. But it certainly is something that intrigued me, and you can check out over at CPAC Alan Green trailer yourself and see, because there's a lot of interesting things happening here. A 6-sided star, a 5-sided star, the foot, the cubit, the meter. Very interesting to me because units of measurement are interesting to me. And I want to know more about this. There's the meter, there's the foot, there's the cubit. What does that mean? I don't know. And of course, Randall Carlson also demonstrated to me a long time ago in Uncharted X. He actually told me about the speed of light, geodetic engineering, but he also reminded me of this as well. So I think it's quite important that you understand that the pyramid had two perimeters, the socle one, which is red, and it shows it right here in red, and the blue one, which was the edge of the casing stones. And when you took both of those, what it actually related to was 1/4 square minute of the Earth at that latitude. So basically, geodetic engineering was a thing. And it's not just Snopes saying it's not the speed of light when it is. You're looking right at it. But it's also... Oh, now I see why that line... Okay. Also, the fact that it is geodetically engineered to its location on Earth. So you've got I don't want to get too deep into this, but you can check it out for yourself or go watch this video. See if we can find the name of that video. I can always help you if you get frustrated. Just contact me. I found a really cool picture with the Sphinx in here. The Sphinx does kind of fit, especially right there in the center of the head, but I think it's BS. I don't know what we're looking at here, but he's talking about the fact that the socle is 1 43,200th part of the Earth's polar radius. Okay, that's the height of the pyramid. So the height of the pyramid is also factored in to geodetic engineering, not just the pyramid itself. And if you don't know, the pyramid is 51 degrees, 51 minutes, the angle of the casing stone. And so that's how we know how high it was, if we follow that. Okay, let me see if I have comments. I got to be checking the comments. Hi there, Fernando. Nice to see you. Fernando's a friend of mine who was living in China for quite a while. And when the whole COVID thing started, he had to leave China. Now I'm thinking about leaving Taiwan. Another thing that we need to talk about is the Parthenon. If you look at the east face, apparently that is also geodetically engineered to its location on its latitude on the planet. So, geodetic engineering has been around for a while. I don't know if the Atlanteans knew about it. And by the way, I'm not even talking about the Richat right now, am I? I'm talking about the Nilotic Meridian, which is, in my opinion, a great candidate for the real meridian, not the British meridian. I also talked about a little bit about Göbekli Tepe, although I don't really have to get too deep into this. There's just proof of an understanding of the Earth, and even the swastika apparently has been around for a long time. So we can look at ancient symbols and signs and find things that have been around for a long time, and they have a meaning. I'm actually looking at this one right here. What's the difference between this Z and this Z? There's the ancient zodiac, and it's found. Okay, so now this is not. You can go here. Prehistory decoded, secret ancient code revealed, deduced from Göbekli Tepe, Catalhuyuk. I don't know how to pronounce it, but Catalhuyuk, and the Lascaux shaft. Lascaux is the big picture that you've heard about. Now these are all in Turkey or near. I think the Lascaux. Where is Lascaux? Isn't that in France? I thought it was, but I could be wrong. Anyways, I personally am not 100% backing this, but I think it's very interesting. And see, here we have a bull as Capricorn. See that? I believe that the bull should be the bull. Where's Taurus? They're saying that the rhino was Taurus. The rhino was Taurus. So I don't know how much I really believe about this. I have to do more research before I trust this. I mean, this is from a YouTube channel, so I don't know how much I can back it at this time. Now, this is another thing that we have to think about. I'm more interested in the ley lines, and I'll talk about that more later. But if you follow these ley lines, you can see that some of them line right up with the Richat, which is right about there, a little bit off. I mean, not perfect. Sorry, you're cutting me drinking, but I don't have any AC. So these ley lines are important to me, and I have been doing some recent research on these ley lines. And I know a lot of people don't really dig with the electric universe theories and the fact that magnetic energy is very important in our entire existence. I personally am not I'm not worried about it. But I do want to talk about it. I don't know how these lines were deduced. I think that the pyramids would be a really good idea if you go straight down from the pyramids. Look how this line's not straight down, so that's convenient, right? So, and what is this? This is the World Wireless. Okay, I don't even know what we're looking at here. But it has to do with Tesla and electric universe or magnoelectric theory. I don't really care about this. In fact, the only reason why I'm bringing this up is for a theory I'm going to show you later. It's coming soon. I want to get there, so I got to keep moving. Now, this is mainstream history. Herodotus' words are right there. That's what Herodotus said. All these pictures that we see from... Is that the same? That's it. That was it. And a lot of these words don't talk about much. It's showing a location... in what I think at this time he's calling Libya. Here he's talking about the Atlanteans. They're not even the Atlanteans, but it is near a mountain called Atlas. And personally, I don't know a single mountain you could call Atlas. That's the question. It's the mountains. So he also mentioned here about the people call this mountain Atlantis. So this is from a little bit before Plato, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe after Plato. Now Herodotus is he has two more here. He's talking about it's a little weird. I think it's a weird description, but it's good for geographic information. He talks about Atlas Mountains and the Atlanteans. And by the way, hi there, Fernando. I know that you are from the Canary Islands, so you're an Atlantean. What type of blood do you have? You're an Atlantean, Fernando. And I just tease him about that because he's not really into the prehistory. He's a personal friend who's just visiting. I don't know if he's still here. Keep saying hi, Fernando. This is near you. Now, Plato, he talked about the Diver Islands in the open sea. He said that. So stop saying that Randall Carlson is right and I'm wrong on this. Because there's a clear contradiction. Now, I grabbed the version that I grabbed. I don't know how many versions are relevant, and I don't know. Hi there, Lord Sidious. You finally made one what? Okay, we'll check it out. Put the link up. I won't delete it, unless it's something naughty. Lord Sidious. It sounds kind of nefarious. Okay, so Diver Islands in the open sea basically go contrary to the idea that the Azores or any island out in the middle of the Atlantis is what we're talking about. Yes, their descendants for many generations were inhabitants and rulers of Diver Islands in the open sea, but those Diver Islands are not bigger than Libya. He also talks about how they had control of the land within the pillars of Hercules. Now, we do need to think about the telephone game that occurs when stories are moving forward. Oh, good. I'll check it out. Oh, that's right. You're Austin's friend, aren't you? I remember now. Here we can talk about the city plans. And I can just right now stipulate that according to Plato's numbers, compared to actual, and I had to figure this out myself. I figured it out a while ago, like 2 years ago. Or maybe it took me a little while longer, that the concentric circles are about 4 times bigger than any Plato measurement on the downtown of Atlanta. So if you're going to argue anything, this is probably the biggest argument against the center of Atlantis being in the Richat. However, there are so many more stories that support it. And the other thing is the Diver Islands concept. Why would there be impassable mud? Why would there be an impassable barrier of mud out in the middle of the ocean? Now, Jimmy did bring this up just in his last video, but guess what? He got it from me, man. He got it from me. I'm the one who introduced Chris Tolworthy to the scene. When I shared his video, this was back in 2018, and he had 32,000 views. However, when I first shared his video, this video did not have so many views. Or actually, maybe I'm thinking about this number of subscribers. Go look at his number of subscribers now. I started sharing this video, and it got really popular. However, YouTube shadow banned me. Well, I think you're talking about some of those pictures that... Hi, Willie. I saw your comment. The Sahara was full of islands, and most of the area between Morocco and Egypt was underwater. Diver Island would probably be in a shallow sea, not the Atlantic. Well, you're talking about a different picture than I'm thinking, because in my opinion, I feel like the coast of Africa has not changed. The outer coast on the west has not changed. I don't believe it's changed. Now, whether or not there was an inland sea, I think there must have been at certain points, but during the time of Atlantis, which is 12,900 years ago, going back about 40,000 years, right? How old would Atlantis be when it died? How old was Atlantis when it finally gave up? According to Plato, it was like 100,000 years. Mud only exists on land. That's a good point. That's a good point. So all these people talking about the middle of the Atlantic are a little bit too passionate because of this argument. And also the distance. People are like, oh, it says, Plato said here. No, Plato said beyond here. Plato said go through here. Beyond here. From here, beyond these pillars. He didn't talk about which way they went. And people are like, oh, they're here, slightly north, slightly south. Well, if you want to be specific, it had to have been right there, right? But a little tiny island here isn't bigger than Libya and Asia combined. So I believe that, yeah, turn left and go down and find the mud. The mud's still there. The whole concept only makes sense if you understand that the Tamanrasset River did exist. And I have people contacting me every day, and they're not aware of that. They're like, no, there was no way to get there. Yeah, there was a way to get there. The Tamanrasset River went right past the Richat structure. And there, I can show you the canals that connected it. Now, Chris mentioned the Ibero-Maurusians, and I talked about those in my last video. Oh, here's that picture you're talking about, right, Willie? I think this is the one. Lord Sidious, of course, I believe that there's the Eye of Africa right there, and it shows a canal here. I don't believe this was real. I believe it doesn't show the Tamanrasset River. The Tamanrasset River went through here. This is not a reasonable picture of 20,000 years ago. The Tamanrasset River went right through here. You see rivers here, but you don't see a river here. The person that made this picture isn't knowledgeable about the Tamanrasset. And I do believe there was a Lake Maghreb, but the idea that it went through these mountains here, I'd like to go and take a look right now and see. This is the Berber Peninsula from here to here. And they're saying that they entered through here. And I mean, I can understand that there probably were some rivers that outlet there, but the idea that it was just a through, it's an interesting theory. I'm not too much backing it, because this picture doesn't show the Tamanrasset. Nobody accounts for the Tamanrasset. They're showing a nice, convenient east-west canal going straight over. I believe that the Tamanrasset, which passed on the north side of the Adrar Mountains, had canals that powered that whole area. And I like that picture right there a little bit. I think that there was definitely an ancient lake on the north side, though. So I'm gonna redo this picture. That's a good idea. See, this is why I'm doing this live stream, is so I know what I want to talk about on my new channel. People say, oh, it was so far south. Look at this picture. This is it. It could have been considered a straight line to somebody who was just following the land. It almost seems like a straight line. There's the Canary Islands right there. You don't know what kind of blood you got? Well, is it positive or negative? Here's a picture of the Tamanrasset River right there. It shows it, and it's not a fake thing. That inland stream the inland sea doesn't really match up, does it? These are radar images of the Tamanrasset. You don't have radar images of that. Now, this is interesting. However, as you can see, the Eye of Atlantis is located on the south side of the Tamanrasset. So in my opinion, I don't really jive with this picture so much. However, I do like it. I just think that the island of Atlantis should be down here. And that's Libya. Just like this shows. Libya was the north side. Atlantia was the south side. So when we look at this so-called island of Atlantis, I do agree that the Tamanrasset River separated this island from that island. But don't tell me that it was in the middle of the Atlantic by the Azores, because this perimeter, which is about 2,000 kilometers, was the size of the level plain that Plato wrote about, saying it was just south, and that means maybe right about here. I put it in this picture above the eye, but it couldn't have been out here. It wasn't big enough. Look at the striations. These striations that you can see under the water are millions of years old. Atlantis was only 40,000, 50,000, or maybe 100,000 years old. Ancient maps show Atlantis. This is the Piri Reis. There's the mud. This is a different one I'll show you later. Here's one from Casablanca. And this shows exactly the French were the ones that owned it. Well, this is why the castle that Jimmy brought to our attention 2 years ago was clearly a French fort. Here's another picture showing French West Africa. However, these political maps, in my opinion, don't really reflect the true history, the people. This is more reflective of the true history. Ibero-Mauritians were pre-Berber. It's pretty simple. If you look at the map I showed you last video, 10,000 BC, which was 12,000 years ago, is when the Ibero-Mauritians came. That was only a few hundred years after Atlantis collapsed, according to Plato. Now, the Berbers came in about 6,000. They replaced them. This map here is Christopher Columbus's map. And if you look at this one shows a lot of information here. I mean, a lot. Okay, as you know, that's Cape Verde, very clear, Cape Verde. So you have an inlet. That's the Cape Verde River. I'm sorry, Senegal River. And you have another one down here. So the Senegal River is down here in this picture. Now you do see this cross, and there might be some connection to Senegal here. But what you see, those are Canary Islands up there. This is the mountains. That's the Atlas Mountains. You see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and even 7 rivers. Oh, sorry, forget 7. 6 rivers going towards what look like the Adrar Mountains, towards a giant lake. This is Christopher Columbus's map. And when I say that, you know what I mean. It means that this was a map from 1492 that the royals had. You can see the Adrar Mountains. This is Cape Blanco right there, in my opinion. And there's the Cape Verde. I'm sorry, that's the Tropic of Cancer. So this is the 21 or 20. It goes right through the eye of the eye. So I really think that we should be looking at these maps a little bit closer right here. Cape Blanco is right there. And you can see the mud. You can see the mud out there. Now, these islands out here, that I don't know much about. It's probably part of the Cape Verde Islands. This one's a little different. It shows Cape Verde. It shows Senegal North, Senegal South. I don't know what these rivers are called. But they come together, don't they? And that's shown here. But what about up here? You see a river going deep into... It doesn't show it continuing. Maybe it's partly dried up. This is from 1644. I think we already know that he was a Jew. Sorry, I'm talking about Christopher Columbus. Fernando, I heard that he was Jewish. Why this year? Yeah, what was his nationality? Now here you can see Cape Verde. It says Caput Verde. That's right there. And then Caput Albu Dargun. That doesn't match up to... There you can definitely see Canary, right? Canariar. So the Canary Islands are up there. Cape Verde's right there coming out. But what about these two big rivers here? And what about this? And what about Hodeni? And what about this lake you see? Sebastian Munster map. The 1554 map that was finished after his death. Here's an interesting map that shows not only was the... I think it's just for looks. I don't think they're really claiming that there was no through to the Mediterranean Sea. However, here you can clearly see Nilus ex Atlante profluens, which means flowing from. Okay, flowing the Nile from the Atlantis flowing. Okay, so this was the ancient Nile going across the Sahara. There's the Atlas Mountains up there. There's some mountains down there. So that's the Maghreb Sea. Here, that's not really the Maghreb Sea. That's the Senegal. I call that the Senegal Sea because it's connected to the Senegal River. This one is kind of weird. and it's also a little bit later, but they do show these. That's the Canary Islands. You do see a couple of rivers going in way up there, and down here you should have one on top, one on the bottom. That one shows it going up. And this is the Piri Reis map, also showing the Senegal, the Cape Verde very clearly, the mud bank that's there, going in towards the mountain. Even Chariots of the Gods understood that the Piri Reis map was being viewed at like it was from above the earth, looking straight down. You can see right here that it's almost like the the Nilotic meridian was the center of this ancient map. There are a lot of sacred sites along that Nilotic meridian. Now, we're changing up the subject a little bit. Let me look at the questions here. Kaput means head. Okay, that makes sense to me. I have found that dried up part of the Nile on Google Earth. Okay, that sounds very interesting to me too. I'd like to see your coordinates on that, and I'd like to look at it myself. Okay, now here we are changing the subject. I guess I'm done talking about maps for a while. These maps are, let me go back over. I mean, knowing where and what the Tropic of Cancer is, and the understanding that these ancient maps probably show things that people nowadays don't even realize exist. Story map. You mentioned it yesterday. I'll check out your links and story map and the other one that you mentioned that could help me write on the map. Definitely interesting. Okay, here we are. Dome geology. Now that's the explanation about our so-called Eye of Africa. Now here we see these ley lines, okay, and here you can see that right over here, number 20 is the one that's closest to the Eye of Africa. It's pretty damn close. If you have any interest in this planetary grid system, there's more that we should talk about. I mean, look at this line here created by you may not have seen the whole thing, but if you know my videos, I've shown this maybe a previous axis of the Earth, or maybe just a shift in the axis. Who knows? But the thing is that these monuments, these ancient megalithic sites, are appearing on this ring, and what else appears on this ring is the Eye of Africa. Take a look. It's right there. It's even better than the ley line. This is not a ley line map. This is a ring of megalithic structures, and you can see that this map is a little weird. It's stretched out in a funny way. My posit is that it's not dome geology. I don't believe it's dome geology. Let's take a look at some dome geology. Yes, that's a beautiful picture, but as you can see, these mountains here are not even as circular. They're very, very rugged. If that's a volcano bubbling up and doming out and then deflating and going back down, well, then that material inside there, it doesn't go anywhere. It might collapse in on itself a little bit and you get some rings, but the material isn't going to just disappear. Look at this. This is a difference between 2,000 feet in the sky above sea level, and down here is 1,200. What happened to all this material? It's a depression. That's what Richat means. Let's look it up right now. I want to look this up because I heard that the word Richat in French means depression. Now, how can dome geology be also considered a depression? So I'm going to go to French and I'm going to put Richat in there and see what happens. English is just Richat. So let's go to English French. That doesn't help me, right? I've had someone tell me it means depression, and this is English. That's French. So let's look at the word depression in French. Depression. And of course it's not. So I'm not going to chase this anymore. But somebody told me that the Richat meant depression, and so I published it a long time ago, but I can't find it. It's in one of my videos. They also mentioned some of the other meanings. But when we get back to the look, I mean, dome geology, when you look at this supposedly that's a crater. And that's the crater. And that's a dome. That's a volcanic dome right there. So is this supposed to be the outer edge first? It was a volcano. The whole thing was a volcano? Because that doesn't look the same. This is also a geologic dome right there. It's kind of elliptic. That's another dome, an upheaval dome in Utah. And now, my posit is this is a lightning strike on a car. And look at that. You can see the frequency in that electricity. You can see the message encoded in there. You could probably calculate the frequency and the vibrations in this strike itself. I'd like to know more about that. I'm hoping somebody can take this and run. I'm not skilled enough to tell you, but I can tell you I just saw some great videos that showed other frequencies. And by watching those videos, you might be able to get some ideas. These are 3 rings, 1, 2, 3, and the outer ring. So when that struck, that lightning bolt certainly had a frequency and a level of vibration that could be measured. Well, there's the Richat structure. I mean, you're going to say, what are you talking about, David? Well, let's keep going here. Radial discharge is something that does occur. Now, this is the lightning bolt. I kind of stretched into a circle so you could look at it a little clearly. I feel like the Richat and this radial discharge here, this is a radial discharge of a lightning bolt. On the right, you see, now ignore that white circle because that came later. Huh. Okay, well, this is definitely a sabka right there then, because this is definitely full of salts, and it's because it's an alkaloid evaporation floodplain. Here's another radial discharge. Look at those lines there compared to those. Here's another one. Now that I think is not so similar. Definitely a different frequency. Lichtenberg patterns. We can see these all over the mountains around the Richat. Look at that. Now, I know that some people call them rivers. However, isn't electricity and water connected? Now, you know, history shows the so-called chaos serpent dragon. In our history, we have a lot of dragons. In China, we have this serpent-style dragon. Now, the argument we're putting forth here is where do these... the question is, where do these legends come from? Is it possible that there is some type of a radial discharge between two solid... I mean, when you have a discharge, it means that it spills from one to the other. And what is it with this ancient symbol here? This so-called squatting man symbol. Is it possible that the squatting man symbol is that radial discharge? And we can see that squatting man symbol reflected in the flag. I asked him, the guy that wrote the book, Mustafa, what the symbol meant, and he said that it is the Z letter and it has a couple of meanings. How about Poseidon himself? Where did he live? Oh, that's right, downtown Atlantis. He's the one that created it. And everybody knows what he carries. Isn't it funny that that symbol, especially the one in the middle, kind of represents that same radial discharge concept? I don't think that it came from dome geology anymore at all. Now, here's a comet, and that's its tail. And we have to know about comets and their tails and where they're from. If you look at a comet named Comet Ison, which I did extensive video uploads on in 2013, I made a lot of money from those videos. You can check them out for yourself. When a Comet Ison came, something remarkable happened. And that is that there was a volcanic eruption on Gemini North, the moon outside, here it is again, Jupiter's moon. And by the way, if you, that's why I have this picture here. You can see it very nicely depicted here on my desktop. Now, it says photo by NASA, but I believe this is a creation, an artist's rendition. But when a comet ison came, and by the way, I want to make it clear, this eruption that you see here, it didn't just happen once. It happens quite often. But when comet ison passed by Jupiter, and I do want to make it clear, Jupiter was way over there. Comet ison was here, and Jupiter was way over there. But when it passed by, there was a volcanic eruption that was largest ever observed. And it looked something like this. So you had the eruption on the top, but you had all these other eruptions on that moon. But wait, there's more. Because what we're saying here is these are just volcanic eruptions, some activity triggered by some type of magnetic connection between the visiting of Comet Ison. You can check the dates yourself for that. It was August 29th, 2013. Just a few days later, Comet Ison passed by Mars. And I believe there was a Carrington event between Comet Ison and Mars that caused the now famous Mars coma in 2013. A lot of people don't know about this coma. However, when Comet Ison passed by Mars, and this is showing October 1st, 2013, in this projection, you can see that it came awfully close to Mars. Now, it went past, you can see it's going here, going around the sun, coming back. And when it comes back, Earth and Mars will be in a different position, or were in a different position. And as you may know, Comet Ison was a sun grazer and did disintegrate. However, before it did, it created, there's Comet Ison, there's Mars, and it created some type of a discharge that caused Mars to not only glow and create to glow and create a coma, but it actually, here's a couple of different amateur photographers. Somebody tried to discredit Ray-Ban. I don't know anything about that. But is that the sun or is that Mars? That's Mars. Who took that picture? And here's another picture of Mars with some type of a Carrington event actually occurring. Now you can go back and watch those on my video and the explanation given at the time. I did have some help. However, I'm showing them again because I want to let people know that when comets pass by our solar system, they do have electric events called Carrington events or discharges that connect. Here's the rover during that time. You can see some type of a misty cloud that occurred on Mars during that. Maybe even an electronic phenomenon that occurred over the mountains that was photographed by the Mars rover. Now, this next picture, this is another one with the clouds on Mars. I mean, how do you have clouds on Mars? How do you have clouds on Mars when there's no actual water showing? Well, there must be water. This is what I think is just a glare. This was a picture of the comet passing by Mars, taken from the Mars rover. This line that goes straight out, I think that's glare because it was so bright. And here's a picture of it going around the the sun. You can see Jupiter in the background. And the sun is covered to avoid too much glare. But you can see on the other side how Comet Ison came out and it's already destroyed. Well, that catastrophe that, we're talking about what created the Richat structure. It was possibly a Carrington event. Okay, that was a little bit anticlimactic. Let me look at my comments. Ancient Architects, I haven't been watching that, Lord Sidious. Oh, I'll have to look at it myself. Season 7, Episode 5 of Ancient Architects. I might have to use some pirated to see it. Okay, I'm just looking at the comments. Willie, yeah, I wish I had a good computer too. So, Sabkna, okay, Willie, we need to talk. A depression filled with salts. Well, I don't know if Richat is the depression filled with salts. I'm beginning to believe that the catastrophe that hit the Richat not only flooded it, but also removed the underlying foundation of the entire so-called island and its walls of silver and gold. And the third item came up. The catastrophe that destroyed Atlantis. Okay, now when if you know Randall Carlson, you know that he's got a really interesting presentation on Halloween. I think it's eerie and dark, and it's excellent. Ancient Aliens. I'm familiar with the show. In fact, I watch a lot of secondary channels from the guys that are on the show, including the Indian guy. He shows a lot of great stuff. Now, if you're not familiar with the Chicago fire, you're probably also not familiar with the other simultaneous catastrophic outburst fires that occurred that day. German woodcut from 1556. It shows a comet starting a fire. The comet goes by, the tail brushes it. Oh, there you see the actual tail of the comet touching it and then flying away, causing fires as it flies past. That's from 1556. This one shows a broom star sweeping away the old. Brooms. Evil spirits with brooms. Is this the real true origin of the witch? Well, how do these fires simultaneously outbreak across Lake Michigan? They do go in one direction. Now, how it got the Chicago fire started, I have no idea. Maybe there was something that was a little bit more flammable. But you can see that these fires probably were lined up right here. The Peshtigo fire was one of them, 1871. Not many know about it because of the Chicago fire, but a lot was written, and they're very horrible stories. Okay, we don't have to talk too much about that. Now, Robert Schoch apparently is one of the supporters of the CME theory as to what took out civilization or what took out a lot of things. This is Brian Forster touching a piece of polygonal rock that seems to have been destroyed by maybe a CME. So maybe it's a thing, but is that what killed Atlantis? I don't think so. No, I think it was an alternative scenario. Maybe even not this one. If you know this one, if you know these pictures of Africa, you know that the Maghreb Sea was right there. There's the Maghreb Sea. I put it right there. Look at that. It lines right up. I love how it lines right up. And over here as well. Now, Willie, I think this is where you should give me your feedback, because I did this by myself, but I was really proud of my work. And I think that you should give me feedback on this, and if you think that this is possible, and if you've seen this line here, this shoreline, because I've searched, I can't find it, and it's probably covered with sand. But I love the way I did get the size about right, and then it lined up right with the Taman Reset. That's the Taman Reset, and then it goes over and comes back. Now, there's a big gap between the Taman Reset and the Richat, but in my opinion, you can see how there could have been connecting rivers. And this is the Tenamore crater, and that's located right there. So some people think that when the Tenamore crater got its strike, that loosened everything in the Maghreb Sea, went right over everything. You can take a look at the Tenamore crater by yourself, but what I want to say is that I personally believe that the Tenamore crater, according to its date, is not aligned. Now, maybe those dates, but I believe that it's something more. Okay, I got some random... I don't really... Okay, what these are talking about, and I just want to say it because we're looking at it, is the belief is that, and we can go back to Randall Carlson, not too far back, but specifically Randall Carlson's, not really the comet stuff, but, well, I'm going to show you right now. Actually, I was right there. I just didn't really realize it was trying to show me. Where did the comets come from? Well, if you know about the torrid streams, the belief is that a lot of Halloween and the Day of the Dead and other celebrations such as that glorify people who have been killed and died. Comet Encke was another comet, just like Comet Ison, that broke apart. And those parts of Comet Encke created a comet stream around Earth that Earth crosses through twice a year in November 1st or October 31st. And it crosses through twice. Once you're looking at it, the stars, and once you're facing away from it. So twice a year we're going through that torrid stream. It says here, the torrid resonant swarm. I don't know why there's no torrids here, but you can see that we have this intersection twice a year. And it might be where this Mithraism, where they are actually killing the bull, because those Taurids are pretty much where Pleiades is, which is in the shoulder of the bull. And that might be why these ancient these guys are, well, I don't want to talk too much about the culture, but they seem to have something about the shoulder of the bull. And you can see the dog is lapping up the blood. Is that not Canis Major? I can tell you right now, if it is, it has to be on the other side. Because if I'm not mistaken, Canis Major is over there. So the Canis is a mirror image. And that's another reason why I don't believe that the Sphinx was a Anubis dog, because Canis Major is not on the ecliptic. But Taurus is, and of course Leo is. So I think that the Leo has a higher chance of being what I'm sorry, I didn't finish my statement. Leo was a better chance of being what the Sphinx was supposed to be in the beginning. All right, let me keep going. I was just getting a drink, trying to pour it. I might have to take a quick break if I don't have my... So, Lord Sidious, thank you for, Mrs. O'Leary's cow. I that's in there somewhere, right? I put that in there, didn't I? Yeah, Mrs. O'Leary's cow. Where is it? Is it in this one? I think I deleted it from this presentation because I didn't want to lose focus. But I did have a slide about Mrs. O'Leary's cow in there in my previous one. Yeah, I think that if you want to, okay, you're talking about a previous. Let's just go back to the ice shelf because you're mentioning it, Lord Sidious. We've talked about this right at the beginning. Actually, this picture is not as good as I trust Randall Carlson more. And this ice shelf picture, where is it? It's coming soon. There. This one doesn't show both sides. There's two shelves apparently. So the way that this glacial advance occurred, it's quite interesting to me. And when that Greenland crater was created, it was probably a strike that caused all this to melt in the end of the Ice Age. And the Younger Dryas event, which we already talked about, was probably in 12,900 years ago. If you trust Randall Carlson, I trust him the most. I know that I made a video that said he was wrong about the location of Atlantis, but he was saying it was down here in the seamount, either the Plato seamount or the Atlantis seamount. It was changed later to Atlantic seamount. But in my opinion, you can't really put it there because of all the striations below it. You can see that no real large civilization collapsed out there. So that's my opinion about that. Okay, I think we can make it. I think we can finish this up. I think I'm almost finished here. I don't want to do a third one, so I'm going to come in here. No, that's okay. You don't have to apologize for coming in late. I hope you can subscribe to my new channel, wasthisatlantis.com. That will take you to the YouTube channel, Was This Atlantis? And by the way, Willie, you'd mentioned that the link didn't work. I got it fixed by adding the HTTP in front of it. Actually, I added an HTTPS in front of it. Okay, so the whole Maghreb Sea going in, that was the alternative scenario. However, I have another scenario for you. Because, yeah, these guys think that those Taurids, okay, and if you agree that Randall Carlson is right, that they cause the ice sheet to melt, well, why don't you believe that since it's on such a strong ley line and the inner core of Earth is a gravitational pull compared to these other, like Mars is so low, but the outer core of Mars has more, actually I know we have molten is nickel. The outer core, where's Earth? Okay, so I don't remember what this is, but I think the outer core was iron. And these so-called ley lines that occurred throughout can help the flow of electricity. And since we're sitting right on that ley line, I believe, oh, here it is, copper, zinc, mercury. Well, I'm getting a little out of order here, but I'm going to go straight here. We don't just have the Tennemore crater. We have other craters, and they're all in a row. And some of these craters are supposed to be old. Some of them, I don't know how old. I can tell you this, if it's older, the Auelloul crater, the Auel crater, probably wouldn't exist. So I think that this crater is a lot younger, and the Tennemore crater is about 20,000 years old according to mainstream science, according to Wikipedia. I don't know the age of this, but I'm looking at this one. I'm looking at the one, not the Richat structure itself. Oh, no. I'm looking at the actual, and by the way, you do have a straight line here. So when you compare it to the string of pearls, and the fact that when a comet breaks apart, it does create a straight line, it is possible to fathom that this could have been from shrapnel from a comet. Here's another picture that shows the distances. Now those three are pretty aligned. The other two are not. This one, I call this one, this is not really thought of as a crater, but if you know the Semsiat dome, you know how out of place it looks. I think it must be a strike. It must also be a strike. Is that the strike that took out Atlantis? Well, maybe partially, but these other craters could have been involved, but I think that the crater that was most involved is this one. Now, I know that this is quite flat. It's not a crater, because I believe that it was filled with water and sediment. As I mentioned, Randall Carlson claims that it's part of a Mars system, and it's a displacement of the ring by dikefall. There's the bigger ring. But I don't believe it, because there were mountains, and the mountains disappeared. Take a look at the mountains right there. You can see that nice so-called dome geology. If I'm wrong about dome geology, not being real, I don't know. I still think, even if I'm right, that it was an electronic radial discharge, those mountains were created by electricity. A great Carrington event, possibly the Squatting Man, which created the flag of North Africa. Either way, there's no mountains there. Somebody just took that slice of pizza away. They didn't take the middle. No, it was a 2.2 kilometer circle. And take a good look at it. You might say, oh, that's not a circle. No, take a good look at it. It is a circle. In addition to that, it's got crater concentric ridges. So possibly it did this. Now you can see the alluvial fans that are filling that floodplain, but this is the original ridge of the crater. Make sure everybody can see this. Going back a little bit, it's called the Sebket el Guelb, which I heard meant heart. People think it was a volcano eruption, but where did all that stuff go? I don't think it was. I think that these circles were created maybe partially by man, but initially by an electric discharge. And you've got crater concentric ridges right here. It doesn't have to be a perfect circle. It could be an ellipse. This is what it would look like if the mountains were still there. But this is what we have instead. What happened to those mountains? What happened to those mountains? All right, I'm going the wrong way. I think I can try to finish this up because I've finished most of my main points. It's over an hour, but rather than try to have a part 3, I think I'm going to just go a little farther out. Wouldn't this be more likely? Wouldn't this be more reasonable to explain what happened to those mountains? Instead, they just disappeared. A necklace of comet shrapnel could have been what took out Atlantis. Just like the string of pearls that we saw when Comet P. Shoemaker-Levy broke apart in 1993, and then it all slammed into Jupiter. Catastrophe. Sorry, I can't speak. I'm almost done. I'm almost finished. Catastrophes that occurred in the time of man may have gone back farther, but lots of bad stuff's happened. This is just one of them. What should we do? So this is it. I'm moving into the final stretch. What should we do? We need to keep researching it, right? We are destined, we are doomed. That's what this is all about. I saw Randall Carlson show this on Uncharter X's last video together, and he showed this, and it basically says we're doomed. These mounds that are in North America, we need to research them because it proves that there were civilizations that existed before Atlantis. This is Brazil. What happened here? Another catastrophe, maybe? Or somebody went through and pushed them all over. Not sure what happened here, but ever since the rainforests have been removed from fires or other agriculture, we've found out stuff exists under those rainforests. Yes, I want photos of this, but is it proof that of anything? I don't know, because if you've seen my previous videos, you'll know that I call this megalithic evidence. However, I still think that this evidence could have been put and rearranged after. I think maybe somebody grabbed all the rocks that were left over and put them in circles and started idolizing them. But they are pretty big. You've got 5-meter wide rocks. And there's other antiquities we need to know more about. Now, I don't care about the castle anymore, although I am curious. But I do care about this antiquity. What was there? Now, if anything was Plato's house, that was it. These canals. I'd like to know more about these canals. We have parallel canals. We have other canals that we should look at and consider. But here we are looking at this crater one more time. I think that you can see this concentric ridge that was created by that crater, and over there as well. This whole flat area, we really need to get a nice LiDAR scan of that, because I believe that LiDAR scan will show us whether I'm right or wrong. Yeah, I think that Atlantis was taken out by a strike. I believe that that strike occurred in the center island of the concentric circles. We have a lot of evidence we can follow. And we should be looking at that. This guy, Mansa Musa, the richest man in history, he was right near there, wasn't he? And he had all that gold. Where did that gold come from? He was the richest man of all time. Well, is that not him right there? In the middle of Mauritania, next to the Richat? Did he go there and clean out all the riches? Or maybe he found them around? Or maybe the story goes back even farther. Because I've been down here in South Africa. If you notice, I'm questioning these parallel rivers that are a mile apart. That's 500 miles across right there. This is turned 90 degrees. North is on the left, south is on the right. This is just north of Botswana. And down there, we're starting to find a lot of different stuff. And I'm going to be looking at this stuff. I'm not done with the Richat, but I can tell you what, I'm going to keep looking at this stuff here, because this stuff is remarkable. And the pictures are already changed. This, if you go to Google Earth, this is already changed. You can check it for yourself. But what I'm finding down there are same things that Plato's described, including gigantic megalithic walls that are crossing across gullies and natural formations quite clearly. Perhaps even on a scale. I mean, look at these mountains. Can you tell me how those were naturally formed? And look, that's the city down there. These mountains are small. That's a small little mountain. It's about 10 feet high. Those mountains are about 200 feet high. But is it possible that they were created? And now we have to go on to the next obvious thing, which is the Anunnaki gold miners. Because if these structures are that man-made or intelligently made, and they must be much older than Atlantis. So this is what we need to keep looking at. Google Earth, that's my portal. I see these lines going across land. And look at that one. That's OB dumping right there. People are creating these lines in the earth to terraform. Look at that. I've got the lines right here. Some of them are 40 kilometers long. That one's 40 kilometers. This one's 40 kilometers. And the line goes on and on and on. Now it breaks up. When you look at these, sometimes the line will break up, but you can follow the path of the artifacts of that line. I'm finding them everywhere down there. This rectangle is 1,000 yards across. Now, how do you get exactly 1,000 yards in nature? And then look at that right angle over there on the top right. And down below, it's kind of faded, but you've got these clear lines. It doesn't stop there. We've got all sorts of weird things that I've been showcasing. So it's time to take a closer look at all these, not just the Richat. Like Willie said, there's stuff all over the Sahara we need to try to figure out. These crisscrosses on the top of plateaus, I can show you 10 or 15 of them. And I don't think you can say that's natural. This is ancient mining. This was a haulage road that created a way to get the materials out of there. And by the way, I think there may have been some kind of a track on top of that road. This comes from Michael Tellinger, and he's talking about these were some type of settling ponds for gold production. Well, I don't know. There's something bigger was happening, so we still have to figure this out. I found Michael Tellinger's stuff. Look at that. They look like trees more than anything. I guess they're weeds growing nearby. But look at the mountain that they're on. How did that mountain get created? It looks like it was a dump. So, this is where I'm headed in the future. I don't know how much I believe this. That's nice, but I don't really care. It goes so far back, but he did introduce Adam's calendar to me, and that is on the Nilotic Meridian. I also heard about Adam's pyramids, but I didn't see them. And I looked. So we do have some new stuff to look at. Was this possibly part of Atlantis? That's it, guys. I came to the end. Now is your opportunity to ask questions, or I will end the stream. I don't know what else we can talk about right now. Things are going on down there. Don't tell me that's 100 years old. That little white speck, that's a house over there. These lines are, you could fit 10 or 15 houses inside one width of this line. And you've got an isosceles triangle right there. And these little shortcut paths, you've got these 90-degree scores. And then you've got the shortcut, because when trucks have to pass each other, they don't want to get too close. That's a double wide lane right there. That's a double wide lane right there. These are single lanes. They're going in their own direction. One is coming empty. One is leaving full. The empty one is coming from one direction. The full one is coming from another direction. But they might re-come together. Thank you very much for your time. Like I said, I'm going to move my existing videos slowly over to the new location. Let me just get out of here. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, ask them now. I'm just going to end this because I really feel that it's time to get this Atlantis thing figured out in its own channel. Let's see if anybody added me. Let's see where we stand here. Oh yeah, I got one more. Thank you so much. I do thank you for your support. So come and then why don't you go over there and check out some of my videos. I do have them here. I did talk about South Africa in the last two videos. In fact, I already got 219 views on this, and it was just 5 days ago. I do want to get monetized, so please share this page. Join it. Like the videos. Watch the playlist and turn down the volume and let it play so I get watch time credit. We can see my watch time hour. Let's go to, what's this? Somebody commenting? Oh, thank you, Seed Hound. Thank you. You did it a while ago. I don't know if you're still here. But we are done. We are finished, guys. Thank you for your time. No questions I see, so I'm going to get out of here. It looks like people have stuck with me more in the end. This was my final word on the Richat. So, because of that, I want to thank you again. I didn't get any super chats that I know about. Let's go over to the channel and check things out. This is my personal channel, David Stig Hansen. And yes, the final word on the Richat, part 1, got 106 views yesterday or 2 days ago. I actually forgot because we're going through COVID lockdown here in Taiwan. So Here we are. Here, let's sneak in. I got live viewers. I got 4 live viewers. Let's go in there and take a look. Let's watch it. Yes, the final word on the shot. Okay, let's see what. Okay, that 7 thumbs up. Now I can give myself a thumbs up. There's the new place. Please subscribe. You can go there. Where is it? Did I leave it? Okay, let's go back. There you go. So here's me live, and now I've got 9. What happened? It just went up again. Wow, that's great. That's great. I don't see any super chats, but hey, life goes on. Life goes on. Thank you, guys. I'm gonna get out of here. I need to go have some more food and drinks. Let's see if we got any chats. Nobody chatted anything here. And I have another thing I'm thinking about doing. I'm thinking about making it impossible to chat on my videos in the new channel. What do you think about that? Do you think that these videos should have a ability to chat? There's a lot of trolling that goes on, you know? So, there we go. Oh, are we done? Did anybody comment? No? All right, guys. I am out of here. Thank you so much. Have a great day. And we did finally finish my last words on the Richat. If there's any sudden events that are really important, I might put them on this channel because it's monetized and I have more subscribers. However, I do believe that my channel was shadow banned because of my inability to collaborate with the algorithm for YouTube. So let's see if this channel does better. Please help me out. Share it. I don't like that thumbnail. I got to change that thumbnail. I'm going to probably... yeah, I got to change that thumbnail. That thumbnail sucks. I don't like thumbnails that just show the Richat. That's got to change. This one probably got to change. Have a good day, guys. Thank you so much.